What are you doing?
Doing the behind the scenes with your new cam.
That's not my new camera.
I know, that is right there. Look at this little beast. It's so small, but it's not. Is it red?
It's red. Hey everyone, I'm Valerie and welcome back to What Valerie Makes. And today we're going to be doing just a little catch up. What have I been making? Where have I been? So yeah, let's jump right into it. And now before I get into the video, I am wearing a ready-to-wear shirt. I got this at Macy's. I rarely buy anything new from the shop. I usually make my clothes or I buy secondhand. But I saw this shirt and I was like, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And you know what? It was on sale, so I bought it. But yeah, it's very cute. I like it a lot. And then I am wearing my Madden skirt, and that is by Tessuti. You've seen it before, but that's what I'm wearing today. And before I get into my makes, I have something really exciting to tell you. I splurged and I bought a camera. This way I don't have to use my phone. Using my phone's fine, but I've been running out of space because I don't delete the things that I should delete. So then I go to do a video and then it's like, you don't have enough space. And I'm like, what do you mean? So just excited to have a dedicated camera to shoot my videos on. It's also like lightweight, so I can take it with me. And now I don't have to use my phone. Even though my phone does a great job, I can use it as like a second camera. But yes, I'm very excited. I splurged. But talking about secondhand, we have a like a camera shop in Buffalo that's been around for a very long time, but they do have like new equipment and used equipment. So I did buy this camera used and it's great. I watched a couple YouTube videos on how to use it, and I just feel excited to give it a go. I probably still have some things I need to tweak, but I really like it so far. But yeah, that's exciting news. So let's just dive right into my recent makes. Now, for some reason, I felt like I haven't been sewing a lot, but then I like gathered all the stuff up since my last recent makes video, and I have a decent amount of stuff to show you. I have four sewing projects and a crochet project to show you. So I'm going to start with this one right here. And this is the Olya button-up shirt by Paper Theory. I love this pattern. I was very excited to give it a go because I really love the line drawing. I bought this pattern because of the line drawing. Let's start there. I thought it was very cool construction about how like the front yoke and the arm is like one piece. So I was like interested to see how that all came together. I bought this Atelier Brunette double gauze fabric, and this is the one that has like the check, the smaller check on one side and the larger check on the other. So I thought that it would be fun to like play around with the pattern pieces and see if I could come up with like a really interesting top, which I think I did. So before I cut out the pattern pieces, I made like I wrote down every single pattern piece and then I wrote small or large next to it so I knew which one I wanted showing. So that was a good guide because I was like, I'm going to get confused if I do not do this. It definitely helped me, and that is a little pro tip for y'all if you're going to do it. I did make the size 12, and that was like off of my measurements, and I think I went down one size because it's like a pretty oversized top, and I think I put, like, it is the perfect size for like the look I'm going for. I wore this a ton on my vacation, actually. I wore it like on the train and like coming home and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed wearing it. It was like a nice, it's not too heavy, but it's not, but it is warm still. So I really like this pattern, and I really like this fabric. It's a great combination. Now, I did use with the instructions. I also referenced Minerva has a sew along on their YouTube channel, and I'll link all of that down in the description box. But so I went from the written instruction booklet to the video because the pocket construction, I almost didn't do the pockets because I'm like, is this going to be too confusing? But I'm like, it's going to take me too much time. And I need to like stop thinking about ways to make things faster and just like slow down and learn some stuff and do the pattern. Like, let's try it out. So I did do the pockets, and I'm glad that I did. It is, I definitely needed the video to help me along with that. And yeah, I think that this is the first time I ever did pockets like this. But they're really cool, and I think I did a pretty good job. I did mess up. Yeah. So I did mess up with like the positioning of when you put the yoke and the bodice together. The first one I did fine, no problems. But then the second one I messed up, which you would think it would be the opposite, but it wasn't. The first one, perfect. Looks great. And then the second one, I ended up like doing French seams to put it together. And so it's a little bit more, not as nice on the inside, but it still like is the same. So, but that's, and then I just did a little bar tack stitch to hold the pockets down with like in the darker check with the same thread so you can't even see it. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one came out. The buttons are just like, are buttons that I actually pulled off of an old button-up shirt that I took off of one of Jordan's older dress shirts. But you gotta, and when dress shirts, you can't always donate those because you don't want to thrift an old button-up that's kind of gross. So usually I like rip it up for fabric and take the buttons off. So that's what I did. And I put those buttons on this shirt, and it works great. I did add the not for sale tag. I think this is a Kylie and the Machine label. So I added that. But yeah, this came together really nicely, and it did take me a little bit of extra time, but that was okay. That's it. And that is one of my first makes, and I really, really like it. Happy with this one. Highly recommend the pattern. And doing some pattern mixing and matching. This just came, I just hung this up. This just got washed, so it's a little wrinkly. But 10 out of 10. Really like this. My next make is the Lyra shirt dress by Tilly and the Buttons. I've had this pattern for over a year now, and I haven't made it. And I got it because everyone who I follow on YouTube, not everybody, but a lot of people who I follow on YouTube has made a bunch of these, and they look great and so wearable. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm going to give that pattern a go with this beautiful Liberty Tana Lawn fabric that I got at the Liberty store when I was in London last year. And I've been like hoarding it because I didn't know like what I wanted to do with it. And I had a bunch of it and I'm like, I know I want to make like a dress, but I wasn't sure. But I was like, go, do it. You can't just hoard fabric. You need to make it up and like wear it and enjoy it. So I did, and I'm really happy that I did. Now this fabric is pretty light, so I was like concerned about if it was too light for this dress, but it's really not. And as someone who is really affected by like temperatures, like I get really warm and then I'm like super cold. So I like this one because if I'm warm, I'm like can take off, like I've been like putting a cardigan over it or like a blazer and take that off and I'm still like covered, but I'm not like sweaty. But yes, I'm so happy with this. Now I did omit the pockets and I'll tell you why. Normally I would leave them, but I felt like with the Tana Lawn, I felt like the pockets were gonna like maybe stick to like my tights or whatever. So I didn't put them in. I used these buttons from my stash and I believe they are vintage. I have like this shoebox full of vintage buttons that I got from, I believe, my mother-in-law. And these came from that and I think it works perfectly. I did do the size 5 and I will say that, okay, I really like the pattern. Came together really nicely. Instructions are great. I didn't need to use any kind of video with this one. I just kind of like followed along. And if I did need a little bit further instruction, on the Tilly and the Buttons website, they have like helpful tips for you while sewing this dress, which I did use a couple times. Now, one thing is they want you to cut one of the collar and the collar stand, one of the pieces on the bias. And I get it to an extent, right? Like if your fabric is, like I just felt like it did not, when I cut it on the bias, it was almost too stretchy. Like it did not line up well. Like even as I was like curving it and shaping it and trying to like really fit the pieces together and like ease in the pieces, I like had a really hard time doing that. And I felt like if I just cut both pieces on the straight grain as is with this fabric, it would have been perfect. But because I cut one of each piece on the bias, I had a really hard time easing it in because I felt like the ones that were on the bias like stretched too much and I was just having like a hard time putting them together. So next time, I'm not going to cut those pieces on the bias. I'm just going to cut 2 on the straight grain. But yeah, I made the long sleeved version and I made the one tier at the bottom, added the drawstring, and it is, I love this. I made this for a night out for my anniversary trip, which I'll get into later. And I was able to wear this and it was really nice. And I think I look really nice in it. I wasn't sure because this isn't always like my style. But I felt great in it and I think I look great in it. So I'm very happy with how this one came out. And the name of this particular Tana Lawn, if you're wondering, is the Elizabeth. And I think they have a few different colorways. And when I looked on the Liberty website, they had the one where the little flowers are more of a red, and this one is a pink, but it's the same exact print. But I'll link that down below if you're interested. Beautiful fabric. I like this because it's not so all over, like I was probably in the Liberty store for 3 hours just looking at fabric and just trying to find the one that I wanted to buy. And this is the one that I chose. So I better like it, right? But yeah, it's a great fabric, a beautiful dress, and I'm very happy to add this into my wardrobe. Okay. All right, so the next 2 makes are the same pattern, but I did make one into a dress. And I'll talk about the dress first because that's the first one that I made. So this is the Brigit Tee by Pattern Scout. And I used this, it's like a navy and lilac rayon jersey. And I got this from Mood Fabrics. Unfortunately, they don't have this fabric anymore. I looked this morning to see if I could find it for you so I could link it, but it's not available. But I was like, this is the perfect fabric to try this Brigit Tee hack. So for the dress, I took the Nico dress by True Bias, and I already have, like, I've made that before. I have the pattern piece. So I took that and I lined it up with like the arm side of the Brigit Tee pattern piece, and I just like put it down, and I used the length of that and the hip curve to make sure that, because I know that that fits me. So I just used that as like a guide, and it worked great. This is a little bit more of a form-fitting dress, which I'm not always feeling the best in, but I put it on and I was like, I like this. So I'm happy to add this into my wardrobe because it's a little bit different. I will say that with this rayon jersey, even though I really love the construction of this, like Casey does a great job. I didn't read the instructions at all. I just sewed with her from her sew along on her YouTube channel, and she does a great job with like telling you step-by-step instructions. Now I did use the like Wonder Tape to stabilize the neckline so it didn't stretch out, but I am here to tell you that if you use a rayon jersey, it's gonna stretch. Like, I did everything that I could to like make it not stretch out. I used the Wonder Tape, but even after that, when you go to understitch, it just like a lot, even though I tried a bunch of stuff. So the neckline did unfortunately stretch out, but you can't really tell. The front is fine because when you put it on, it's like a t-shirt, so it like stretches out. And then the back, I did add like a little back dart to the center, just because there was a little bit of gaping in the back of the neck because I stretched it out. But I just added a little back dart, and because it's such a busy fabric, you can't tell, and I usually always wear my hair down anyway, so you're not going to be able to see it. But I'm happy to have this. I was debating long or short sleeves, but because I had so much of this fabric, I did the long sleeve. And yeah, I can always like put a little sweater over it or a cardigan. But yeah, I'm excited to have this in my wardrobe. So that was my first Brigit Tee. And then the second one, which is the reason why I did make the dress, but I had already the blue thread on my serger. So I was like, I'm just going to do the dress first because I need blue. But that taught me that I'm not using my serger on this pattern because it just doesn't, my serger's old. No matter what settings I put it on, I feel like it doesn't do it does a great job if you're just doing like side seams. But like if you're sewing a whole garment, it just like doesn't do well. So because of that, I went right to my sewing machine on this one. And this is my just regular Brigit Tee. And this is in a dusty mauve wide rib knit. And this is from Lyrical Fabrics. I really like the wide ribbed look, and I really like this color too. So I was like, well, let's add that. So I got 1.5 meters of this, and I basically used every scrap of fabric because this pattern does have like a lining, which I think is really great. It does give you a little bit, it's not like a shelf bra or anything, but it is an extra layer of fabric to like maybe give you a little bit more coverage if you need it. So I really like that about this pattern. But this one came out great. I didn't stretch out. This fabric is a little bit more stable than the other one. It's not as like slinky and stretchy. So it worked really well for this pattern. I did just use a zigzag stitch on my machine, which I think works really well. With this pattern, I really like how, because it's the stripes like on the side, the stripes kind of go sideways on the arms. So I think that it gives it a cool like look. If you're looking for a square neck top, highly recommend this one. It also comes in a short sleeve, long sleeved, cropped length, or full length. And I just did the full length and the long sleeve. I did shorten the sleeves a bunch, and I did have to take in the sleeve. Even though I think I feel like I did grade correctly, but I did end up, like when I put on the sleeve, it was like kind of hanging off of my arm a little bit. So then I went in and just like took that bit out. So yeah, that's what I did for this. But really love the pattern, and the video tutorial is great, per all of Casey's video tutorials. So that is all of the sewing projects that I had done recently, and I'm very excited to show you my next item, which is my crocheted vest. This is the granny square vest, and the pattern maker is Make and Do Crew. Now I bought this kit right on the Lion brand website, and they have a wonderful kits. So you can just go on. It sends you the yarn, all the yarn that you need. It sends you the pattern, and I just find that way, like everything you need is right there. So I really like buying like crocheted kits, because I don't want to have to worry about, is this enough yarn? Is this, especially being a new crocheter in general. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this came out. Now I did do the size large, but that was too big. So I should have probably done the size medium. I did. It was an easy fix though, because you just make 2 granny squares and then you put them together at the shoulders and at the side seams. So really at the side seams for the large, it said to do like X amount of rows of the granny stitch. And so I just took out some rows, and then that was fine. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. And I did like a ribbing around the bottom, which I messed up a few times, but you can't tell. And then a small ribbing around the armhole, and the neckline is just done by like single crochets around the neckline. But I'm so happy with it. I'm really happy with how it came out. But the yarn that comes in the kit is the Lion brand yarn, and it is the 2 of Wands, the Color Theory yarn. And it is an acrylic yarn, which I tend to not gravitate towards, but this feels amazing. Like if you're looking for an acrylic yarn that has like such a great feel, I highly recommend the Color Theory yarn. It's so like silky feeling, and it's really soft and like breathable almost, but substantial. So I highly recommend the Color Theory yarn, and they have loads of really great colors. I chose these colors because this was what the pattern maker made, and I really liked her version, so I was like, buy and just like make the exact same one. But you can switch up the colors and like get whatever whatever color you want, and it's lovely. So yeah, I was really happy with this. It actually came together relatively quickly. The granny squares took me no time because I kind of knew what I was doing with granny squares. The thing that took me the longest is this ribbing. Once I had it down, I think I like got quicker, as one would. But the ribbing really took me a long time because it is kind of a different, you have to do more like back loop stitching only on every turn. So I had to pay more attention, and it took a little bit more brain power, but I got there and I'm pretty happy with how this came out. It is like a cropped vest, so I've been wearing it, I've only worn it like a couple times, and I've worn it over like a button up. But I'm also excited to wear it with like a t-shirt dress or like a short sleeve t-shirt with this over it. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. And I'm excited to be showing you some more crocheted projects because I'm currently crocheting a sweater. And it's taking me a little bit of time, which obviously crocheting a sweater does. But I am currently at the point where I am like about to like, because it's like top down, I'm at the point where I'm attaching to where the arms and body will split. So I'm excited about that. But those are all of my makes. All right. Let's see. Let me hang all this back up.
In 1835, this hand-operated machine was the last word in modern design. And if you were young and fit, you might reach a speed of 40 stitches a minute. Foolish, headstrong girl.
Okay, now let's get into the where have I been part of this video. And the last video you might have seen from me was my birthday jumpsuit making video, right? And if you haven't seen it, I'll link it up here. You should give it a watch. I'm pretty proud of that one. So if you've missed that one, go give that one a watch. And since then, I have had this trip planned. So I was like kind of getting everything in order for that. And then I've been gone for a while. So I did put up a short, but I haven't like made a video. November marks the 20-year anniversary of my husband and I. It's our, like, the time that we got together, right? So, we have been partners, for 20 years. And so that's a big deal. And so we have been planning this, like, travel trip. We always kind of plan one bigger trip a year. And this one is a little bit more special because we've been together for 20 years. We took the train from Buffalo to Chicago. Voiceover Veil here. This was an overnight train and it took about 10 hours to get to Chicago. In the morning, we went to Off Color Brewing. Well, it really was the afternoon, let's be honest. It's one of our favorite breweries. And then we went to Pequod's Pizzeria. It was pretty close to the brewery and we had to get that deep dish. The next morning we went to Hero Coffee Roasters and it was Halloween day.
It's quite cool.
But the sun's out.
It's finally sunny.
It's Halloween.
You got your face sparkles on.
I'm a butterfly. It was so cold. Wow. Okay. We're gonna go.
Goodbye.
Bye. This was a fabric store called Chicago Fabric Yarn and Button Sales. What a place. I couldn't. I was overwhelmed. Things were gonna fall on me, but I had to show you. And because our movie was canceled that night due to all the snow, we went to 3 Dots and a Dash for dinner, and 10 out of 10. And what a beautiful night it ended up being, even though it legitimately snowed. And then the next morning, sun's out. What snow? We headed up north to go to the Chicago Music Exchange, which was Jordan's #1 on his list, and it was really cool. And then we went to Knit One, which was a really nice yarn store, and the people there were so lovely. I loved talking with them and all the customers that were there. Later that night, we went to a speakeasy called the Milk Room, and we had a lot of really rare whiskeys and some really old whiskeys. This was an amazing place. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Was a true vibe.
Are you vibing?
How did you get up there, Val?
Well, I put my leg up and then you hoisted me over.
Because you're short.
I am short.
In the morning, we went to Spinning Jay's, which is like a pie breakfast spot. And then later on that night, after a bunch of shopping, we went to Schwa, which is a Michelin-starred restaurant, which is like a 14-course dinner, amazing food, and we had the best time. And then we finished up our night in Chicago, walking around the city. In the morning, we got breakfast.
Steward will make an announcement how to go about making a reservation.
And then we got back on the train, and then we were off from Chicago to Whitefish, Montana. On the train, my friend said you had to get the Amtrak hot dog, so I did. And it was very good. We got to Whitefish about 10 p.m. and then got to our lodge and was greeted by this cat, and I was very happy. In the morning, we grabbed our book and had a cup of coffee by this amazing fireplace at the Hidden Moose Lodge. If you're ever in Whitefish, you need to stay there. It was amazing. It was beautiful. Everything was great. We went to Glacier National Park and we did a lot of hiking. Saw a lot of glaciers.
There's a glacier.
It's right there.
Honestly, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to, and it was their off season. This hike was amazing. It was so beautiful. It was a pretty big challenge, actually. It wasn't that many miles, but because of there was a lot of like up mountain hiking. But then we got to this beautiful lake, and I could have stayed here for the rest of my life.